Ugh. I just want to smoke and talk about Rings of Power, I guess, since I just went live on the wrong one. Fuck! That's funny as fuck. Okay. Uh, Adar. I have to go look up the dude's name again. I'll just a second. It's Magoflin or Magloflin. It's one of the Magloflins. Maglor. Yeah. So this is who I think Adar is in Rings of Power. This is one of the sons of Feanor. Uh, he technically never died. Like he's wandering the earth as some sort of a spirit in Tolkien's universe at best. At worst, he's wandering the earth as some sort of very, very old elf. Uh, I guess that's actually better than the spirit, probably. Because there wasn't much ever written about what he did, it leaves a lot of room to tell shit. And if you make him a servant of darkness now, it's very interesting. That's who Adar is, in my opinion. He's not Sauron. That's like the head fake there. The guy was like, "You off Sauron, you?" He didn't say yes or no because that's not Sauron. Anyone who thinks that that's Sauron doesn't know what Sauron is. What is Sauron? Sauron is a Maiar. It's like an angel, basically. Uh, there's levels of gods in Tolkien's canon, right? There's big capital G God, that is Ili Iluvatar. There are the gods of Mount Olympus gods that are the Valar. They are literally one for one, almost interchangeable with the gods of Olympus. You have Aule for Hephaestus, Ulmo for Poseidon. Manwë is kind of like their Zeus-ish character, although he doesn't really have any of the powers of Zeus. And so on and so forth. And there's goddesses and whatever. The Maiar are like their angels. So, like, there's a god, and there are gods, and there are angels. And Sauron was one of these, right? The being that is Adar that we saw is very clearly an elf. And he is very clearly a fallen elf of some ilk. So the sons of Feanor, when they finally gained the Silmarils, the Silmarils were made by Feanor, for those who aren't in the know of it. They contained the light of the trees that it's complicated, but basically, like, it's really, really special holy light, and it was the only last of it left after Morgoth or Melkor, depending on what era of Tolkien you're reading. Uh, Early on, he was called one name. Later on, he was called another, kind of like Skywalker, Darth Vader kind of shit. Anyway, um, he killed the trees with a big spider. Because that sounds normal. Like, it makes sense the way they did it. Anyway, the best part to me is, if at all you've ever fucking watched Kevin Smith talk about what's the fuck his name? The producer of Superman, one of the Superman and the Batman movies. Forget his name. It doesn't really matter. He was Dolly Parton's hairdresser, and he became the producer of Batman. That's all you need to know about him. When he was making Wild Wild West, it has a big mechanical spider in it because that man wanted to see a big spider in a movie. Literally, he's making Superman Lives with Nick Cage, and it's an excuse to make a giant spider. Wild Wild West became his excuse to make a giant spider. I don't know what's with the giant spiders and creative people, but Tolkien, anyway, Maiar and Silmarils, where we were. Uh, the sons of Feanor, when they regained those Silmarils, they grabbed a hold of them, and because of some magic with them, it burns evil things. And they were good elves, right? But they had done so much evil shit just to get the jewels back that they burned their hands. And one of them threw the jewel into the sea, and that is Maglor or Maglor. I don't know how you say that. His brother took his gem and jumped into a volcano, which seems badass. Um, the giveaway that this is Maglor is he has a hand with a gauntlet on it. Better never take it off. In shit, the Silmarils, if you're evil and you touch them, your hand withers and dies. So I would imagine it's at the very least evil looking and black now, and he wears a glove on it. He bears the mark of Cain, so to speak, like fucking Luke Skywalker. If you're into fucking mythology and Joseph Campbell at all, you'll appreciate that. Anyway, McLord, whatever. That's my theory on who this dude is. And that's why, is because after he threw that Silmaril into the sea, nothing was ever seen or heard from him again, except for occasionally someone would see a dark elf wandering the shores. Could have been a spirit. Okay. Sauron is a Maiar spirit. If he would appear in human form or elf form, he would be large. Very large. So at the opening, you see Sauron walking down some steps and you see orcs around him. You should realize that those orcs, those are full-size men. Like maybe they're, 5'8" or 5'9", but they're more or less the grown adults. And they're knee high on him or whatever. Not knee high. They're like somewhere around tit to middle high on him. That's how the gods are. And the Maiar are gods. Uh, there is an entity in the show, Rings of Power, that is Sauron, without a doubt, in my mind. And that is the one that most people are going to think is Gandalf with the hobbits. That comet crashing thing. The old man with the fucking hilt literally said uh, the comet was a sign. We don't have wizards here yet. The way he arrives and how he is, that he is a wizard, and one of the forms that Sauron could take is that of a wizard. And I don't know how they're going to explain the comet. I find the comet thing very cool, actually. That's it's not Tolkien-y really, but it's not Tolkien-y. If they do it right and like he somehow magic conjured himself at a different point in the sky or something in a comet, like that's essentially what he did. He reborn himself on this Middle Earth as a man with a fucking incarnate spirit of a Maiar. And the interesting part is, whenever Gandalf and them did that, they lost a lot of power. So I think we're going to see Sauron as being a very powerful wizard, because I doubt he made himself lose any power. Why would you? Like, if you're doing this to help men, because this is the thing, Sauron is the deceiver. And it is said that at first he came pretending to be Gandalf, essentially, Gandalf the White. He showed up claiming to be from the Valar. And because he is a Valar and has magical powers, is a Maiar and has magical powers, they're like, oh, okay. Right? And he had shape-shifted, as Sauron does. Sauron is a shape-shifting being. in case you didn't know that. And in this storyline, he's going to lose that ability, basically. Not to give that away, but what is going to happen in this story, because of they must base some of this at least on Tolkien. That wizard character must at some point get picked up by the elves and get taken to Gil-galad and Celebrimbor and Elrond. And he is going to teach them to make rings in that big tower that the dwarves are making them. Okay? That's that has to happen. Okay? And then that's going to go bad, right? Somehow, some way, and he's going to be, found for who he is. So he will leave there, go to Mordor or someplace, and start causing havoc. And then the Númenóreans are going to come and get him and take him to Númenor. And he is going to, because of the condensed nature of this show, instead of taking several hundred years to corrupt Númenor, he's going to do it in days probably. But Númenor, as we see it in this show, he's already been there. They're evil as fuck. I don't know what's going on with that place. They're on the edge of getting fucking destroyed anyway. The I turned my camera on. I should probably turn it back off. I did it just to say that one thing. Doesn't really matter. I think it's interesting that Sauron is like Gandalf, basically. He's been wiped. And maybe that would be the best way to fool them. That's honestly, if you were truly a maniacal bastard, wiping your mind clean might be the best way to fool them into you being good. And you're you. You'll sort it out eventually. That would be the evil person's thought on doing that, at least I would think. I can't imagine him doing that. And that's where I'm back to, is that Gandalf? And if that is Gandalf, he acts a lot like Sauron at times. He does evil things. He has cold magic. The cold magic he has that's evil. That there's no good force in Middle Earth that does cold. Cold destroys. Like, light is good, darkness is bad, cold is bad. That's why, like, maybe there's winter in Middle Earth or whatever, but for the most part, when we see it, it's all green and whatever. Guess there has to be winter in Middle Earth because they were talking about the hobbits were. I don't know. It's one of those things that, like, I could have told you that answer in middle school. Gosh, kind of a lot's happened since then. In the last episode of this shit, the little hobbit girl that's helping Sauron gets, like, touches his hand and frozen and shit by him, and, like, gets blown away or some shit, and, like, her hand is all weird. She goes running off. There's going to be something come of that. I guessing she's got a little bit of magic in her now, because she interrupted some powerful shit. It looked like he was just trying to, like, cool his wrist or whatever, and he damn near caused an ice age or some shit. Like, that was interesting. And, like, you're like, oh, but he didn't. Yeah, but you don't understand that whatever that is if that is Sauron or Gandalf or whoever it is a Maiar. The only Maiar in the show is that dude, and the only Maiar in our story is Sauron. You're welcome again. And I say that because Gandalf does not show up until after these events. And again, they could break that, but no, there's no reason to. And having him show up as a wizard I hope they have the other wizards show up exactly the same way. No boats. If you're gonna do that for Sauron, like, I guess you could do a boat. That would make sense too. They either need to show up on a boat at the Grey Havens, or they need to arrive by a comet also. I'd be really down for either one. The comet seems appropriate to me if you establish that that is how Maiar get to Middle Earth as wizards somehow. Like there's something about it. For whatever reason, I don't know. I didn't make that decision, people. Um, I think it's a really, really fun idea. And it does. Tolkien flat out says that Sauron was the deceiver and he deceived them. And he took on a fair form and pretended to be an emissary of the Valar. That dude looks like an emissary of the Valar, especially running with those hobbits. He looks like he's straight from Niana or something, like, or Yavanna, one of the other, like, those are goddesses in the Tolkien universe. One's of like sleeping dreams, and one's of like forest. And dressed in their wares, those are like the children of Yavanna. And he passes remarkably well as Gandalf. And that is what is going to be a head fake for so many people. I can't wait to see that I'm right and see their reaction to that. And it kind of ruins it in a little bit for me because I can just see that in this. But at the same time, like, I enjoy the way they tell the story or whatever. Like, thus far in Rings of Power, I have not liked every episode. Episode 1 I liked, episode 2 I liked, episode 3 I didn't, and episode, was it 4 and 5, I liked both of those. So, really, they're doing pretty good for a show. Out of their first 5 episodes, I've liked 4 of them. I can't say that for most shows. This isn't me being blind to it because it's Lord of the Rings. I'm being pretty highly critical. I just don't have some of the same sensitivities as some of y'all, and I went in looking for liberal shit, and I don't see any of the shit that bothers me in particular. There is some girl power in it, which is kind of weird and out of place from Jeff Bezos, but let's talk about Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos gets off on powerful women. 110%. There's no way he couldn't being who he is. And what do I mean by powerful women? I mean like he probably takes it up the ass from a strap on and says, "Yes, mommy," and shit. That's what he looks like to me. He looks like the scum that asked me to do that on the internet, who I just blocked. Not interested. I don't dominate people. Not my thing. I could get paid so much money if I was a dom. Well, there's some sex talk at the end for you, Smoke. Uh, Tell me what you think about my theories. Do you think I'm right? How much Cimmerillion and early Tolkien have you read? Because like this is really a show born out of the Cimmerillion and Unfinished Tales, and most people didn't even read those. Most people barely read The Hobbit. Jesus, so many horns and car alarms and babies crying in the ghetto. Another baby cries in the ghetto. On that note, I'm definitely ending this. See you guys.